edition of Jofo in the Ring. And yes, my name is Frank Jofo, and this right here is Jeremy Prophet.
Oh, how good it is to be reunited with my two favorite co-hosts.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, we got my third favorite co-host, maybe even fourth, but you'll be third for today. And then my second favorite co-host. Two co-hosts with the most, always giving the people what they want. And as you might be able to tell, we're in a bit of a different location. We are here at 1231 St. Catherine West, Esports Central, the place to be. And the reason that we're in such a wonderful location is because we have such an amazing guest for you today. But for those of you who might not be familiar with who we are, I say we go around the horn here and introduce ourselves. So my third favorite co-host, Kyle Jofo.
Now, he says third on camera, but off camera, I'm actually his best friend. He tells me that all the time. I don't care what he says on camera. He's lying to you guys. I'm sorry. But yes, I am Kyle, the spoiler moron. I'll spoil the show. I'll spoil your fucking day. I don't give a shit. But guys, I am so excited to be here for this is the first episode the three of us have done together.
First time.
This is a big deal. Frank's not on a boat.
I'm actually excited not to be on the boat for this one because
You got your sea legs?
I'm here with you three right here, my three good friends, especially here at Esports Central. Of course, in Gorilla, we have Selecta Brew, the prod god himself.
That's right.
That's making everything
The man
happen
behind
here.
the scenes makes us look great week in, week out.
Yeah.
And, you know, the three of us here, we're kind of, you know, we're not really like the Three Stooges, although, you know, we could kind of be like a Larry, Moe, and Baldy.
No, it's Larry, Curly, and Bro.
I kind of like that one, too.
But you know what's funny about this episode? Is that on this episode, Jeremy doesn't have the biggest arms.
No.
He doesn't have the big, and I'm uncomfortable with it because I'm not used to it. It's very weird for me.
Yeah.
Weird as shit. Jeremy?
Well, you know, hey, what can I say? It's not always the size of the boat. Sometimes it's the motion in the ocean. So when it comes down to it, I don't mind taking the silver medal when it comes to arms for today. You know, you yourself, you wouldn't even make the podium. But with that said, I think we should get to our very special guest. And when I say very special, this is probably the biggest in-studio guest we have ever had. This is someone who has been a part of all of the major promotions in professional wrestling history. Let's face it, he was in the WWF, where he was a multiple-time tag team champion. He was in WCW. He was in ECW. He was in NWA TNA, and is currently a member of the Ring of Honor roster, an illustrious career spanning easily well over 30 years, and someone who is a shining example to everyone out there, myself included, that you will never give up on your dreams, and if you choose to do that, you will succeed, make it to the top, and anything is possible. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I give to you our special guest, none other than Pco Pierre Carl Ouellet.
Yeah.
Thank you. What a nice intro.
Welcome to the show, sir. Pleasure to have you.
Yes, thank you. I can feel the electricity here on the set.
That's right. I try to be as electrifying as possible, and believe me, you deserve that. I know firsthand, having been in the ring with you, that you know there is something absolutely electric about what you bring to a wrestling venue of any kind. And everything I said in that intro, I mean that from the heart. You really are an inspiration, not just to myself, but to everyone out there, to the people here in Canada that have followed your career for so long. And yeah, when it comes down to it, you were someone who never gave up on your dreams, faced a lot of adversity, overcame all of it, and showed that, you know, if you just never give up, you can be successful.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It was pretty wild run overall. Like during all those years, you know, it's never been that easy. It's been a pretty arduous, like long road. And a lot of bumps on it, you know, not just in the ring, but on the road.
And definitely more to come.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, for sure.
Because, you know, for anyone who's seen him in action, I'm sure you know, but for those who don't, this is not someone who is on a retirement tour. No, he's going to go until the wheels fall off. You know, I've been in there with him, and I can tell you that it's like a demolition derby. You know, this is one of the most indestructible people I've ever met in my life, and always make sure the fans get their money's worth. And I think that's what really sets you apart from people of your generation.
I'm always trying to give something different and some good moments during a match. Like a few good moments, like overall, like I want to give it a good match, but I like to create moments too. I think that's my style.
Yeah. And now let's go back to the beginning, because obviously, you know, you've been in the wrestling business for so long. You've given so much to it. How did you first discover professional wrestling?
Well, it's my grandfather, I guess, was a big fan of wrestling, so he used to put it on his TV. So I think that was my first few occasions where I got drawn into watching, asking him what's going on, you know, with the sports. He would, I don't know, I feel like he would start back in the room and his chair would come up all the way in front of the screen. Like he was really into it. Like I was never like really into it. Like I was never like a fan that would hate someone or like someone. It was always, I kind of knew how the business worked, like without knowing it. And just like everyone else, playing hockey in the morning, watching TV. And back then, I think I've seen a few times the documentary on Edward Carpentier and Grand Circuit Wrestling. So it was, I don't know what kind of company it was, but the replays were always in the morning. So at 6 a.m. or, you know, early practices, I'd watch TV, and I was like, then I asked my dad to go to a live show, and once I got to a live show at Paul Sylvie Arena, even on the preliminary match, I think it was Dan Crowfat against Ron Ritchie. Just a preliminary match, my second match. And it was, back in the days, we had that just lights over the ring, you know, and dark everywhere else, and the smoke. And that's what I want to do. I knew that night I knew, and then I went to see WrestleMania 1, and when Hogan, I think, defeated Iron Sheik, and that was on closed circuit at the Verdun Auditorium.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was not even on pay-per-view yet.
Holy shit!
You know, it's
I was 16, I think, and that was already hooked, like from the age I was 12, 13, but like at 14, my parents were asking me what I want to do when I'm growing up, and it was like pro wrestler, and they'd say, he's going to change his mind. It's just for a while, you know?
That's the thing about wrestling, though. Like you said, it's like the closer the chair got. Like every person I've ever introduced to wrestling, their chair was always further away from the TV, but as the card drew to a close and as the main event approached, their chair got closer.
Yeah, or
And
the
then-
match where the cheatings and
How
not
is that
missing
legal?
the tag and trying to, come on.
Or even worse, when they'd make the tag, but the ref didn't
Oh,
see it.
yeah, false tag.
Oh, my God.
That was crazy.
Yeah, no, it's really incredible. And, you know, you and I, we talk pretty often. We've worked together in the ring. And it's interesting knowing, you know, your early beginnings. Like we talked last time about how you had played hockey for a long time. And you were really playing at a very elite level as well.
Yeah, I think my first hockey school was like when I was 3 or 4 years old. It was really early. So I got put on skate like really, really early. And as a kid, like I would go on a outside play. I could play for 6-7 hours and come back home, and my feet were like frozen, you know, and really frozen. Like it was hurting. I would cry, you know. But
The classic
yeah,
with the hot potatoes in the skates to warm them up.
I've tried everything. The bag, you know, for the milk, with the salt and pepper, or just pepper.
I remember there was someone that told me that used to put peppercorns in your skate while you skate. So that the heat it breaks up the
but
peppers, and it
I can say that I've made all those experiences, and none of them have worked. You know, it was.
It's
Frank Jofo's our local scientist here. He's our in studio, the doctor. Dr. Frank.
All I do is work on a boat.
He actually built the boat.
I also had an accident at 12 years old where I lost my sight on my right eye. So that I knew, you know, hockey was almost. Now you can play with one eye. I got like Carl Soderberg for the Avalanche. But then they had a rule: 75% from each eye at least vision you needed. So, but I was hooked on wrestling no matter what. But I was really played hockey until playing Ville La Salle.
Yep.
For André Laurando College.
Oh, wow.
Cégep.
Yeah.
And sent out because I played the Hardy Cup, like the Allen Cup, the Canadian Championship, in Almonte, Ontario for Team Quebec. I got drafted. Not drafted, but I got scouted by a coach of the what's it called, the North American Hockey League now. Michel Laurando, his name was. He scouted me and another guy that I was playing with, and André Laurando, during a tournament in Pierreville. So I went to the training camp and I played that tournament. The building was full there, and we lost the series, but I was the first scorer in that first series. We lost in it was a 3 game out of 5. I think we lost 3-0. But I was the first scorer, so I sent. Back then, no internet. I sent score sheets to the universities and to American Hockey League teams and International Hockey League teams, and I got a lot of letters for scholarships and things like that. Interesting, and having given me a scholarship. Didn't follow through because I got also a phone call from Emile Dupré to go wrestle in the Maritimes. But the greatest phone call that I got, the greatest memory I got was Hall Sims, because I used to collect the hockey cards. And then Hall Sims was one of my cards, was a player for the Chicago Blackhawks. And I picked up the phone one morning. Yeah, I'll speak to Carl Ouellet. Yeah, it's me on the line. I could Hall Sims from it was the Indianapolis Colts. I think it was the farm team of the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah. And they wanted me to go to the training camp, and I turned them down, and I went to wrestle in the Maritimes instead.
I mean, you made the right choice.
Yeah, I think so. And it would have been, because also when I sent my score sheets, and I sent also some wrestling pictures telling them I was doing like both sports. And I think maybe they needed a goon or something. Or they want, I think they look at my stats, but also I think the picture from wrestling.
I think definitely it would have made you stand out. And I think that, because it's very similar, and I was surprised how similar our stories were, because I started playing hockey when I was 5 years old. I actually played alongside a good 10 seasons with the prod god back there. Bruno, who makes us all look good. Bruno was a part of the 10 or so of the 15 seasons that I played. I know you played hockey, too.
I was a little older.
You had less politics, because you weren't from LaSalle. You were from Villemar.
I was from Villemar, but when I was playing for LaSalle, and the whole thing was that if you wanted to play for LaSalle, at a certain point, you didn't need an address to show that you played in LaSalle. All of a sudden, a lot of people were complaining that there wasn't a lot of people from LaSalle playing for LaSalle, so they wanted report cards. So that year, I can't really do anything. I have my grandmother lives in LaSalle, but maybe it's time for a change. So I started playing for the Hurricanes de Montreal, where Mario Lemieux used to play.
Okay.
It was probably the best decision I ever made for my hockey career at the time, because I became a better player and I started to meet new people, and my career just blossomed. And like you said, for the Quebec, I represented Montreal in the Quebec games.
Okay.
In the year 2000. We didn't win, but just knowing that I was part of a great team of Montreal and representing Montreal. Okay. Such an honor, so yeah.
Yeah, and the point I was getting to is that I really feel that hockey is an underrated base to come from for professional wrestling.
Especially in Quebec, too, and Montreal, right?
Yeah, but I mean, when you think about it, there aren't a lot of professional wrestlers that I feel come from hockey. I mean, I could probably name close to 10, but then I'd have a hard time. And I think that hockey encompasses all of the things that you need for professional wrestling: the physicality, the cardiovascular conditioning, and the will to want to go out and perform and win. And it instills that competitive spirit in you. And I think that that's something that I see when I watch you perform, is that, you have all of those same attributes. And I kind of feel the same way with me, having had a 15-year hockey career, nowhere near as illustrious as yours or even yours. But I think it gave me a lot of the skills that I have today in wrestling. So.
Wow. Yeah. It's true that you can make those parallels with hockey. Especially also, like, if you're playing at a high level, the pressure, from performing and delivering whatever you're on the power play, and
you're performing in front of a crowd as well. Yeah, it's the same scenario. Well, maybe not as big as a 20,000 scenario, but
no. But even then, like, you want the coach to when he makes a decision to put you on a power play or something, and you want to prove him right.
Yeah.
And then it's same thing when booker or promoters believe in you. You want to prove him right. You know, so it's that kind of pressure where you don't want that. You're not thinking about it really, but it's there.
Yeah.
And then, everybody's got ways to deal with.
And I think definitely in your case, anyone who's seen you will say, you know, you're the most durable performer out there. The things you can do. I've heard you described as being a rubber ball, kind of person who I think it's actually Jacques who used to say that that you could take a fall off the top rope to the cement floor, like the bump you took in
Madison Square Garden.
Like where you were tossed right out of the ring to the floor, to the hard floor, or even the bump you did in TNA, the jump onto the ramp.
That was crazy.
And you can take those bumps, those abuse, and be able to get back up and keep going. And I think a lot of that comes from the durability you need in hockey to take the hits. If you know, even if a guy trips you and you fall on the ice, you're taking a bump.
Yeah.
So I think you were conditioned, much like myself, from an early age to be able to withstand that. It's one of the things I'm most proud of is 15 years of my career, never sustained an injury. And I think a lot of that comes from just having been, calloused and having built up the muscle fibers, the shock absorption.
Yeah, kind of.
From doing that. So this is my diagnosis.
It was like crisscrossing, like because I went to the Maritimes and I failed like pretty much. You know, I had like a good time as far as being on the road for the first time and working like 7 days a week and twice on Sunday, but I was put in a spot like quick in a main event spot, you know, for the titles every night, and I was like super green. And then when I got let go, when they made the first cut, I was let go like probably the first or second guys that they let go. So I came back home pretty depressed, so I decided I was going to go back to school. That's what I played for college. And sometimes after practices or after a game or between periods, I would just go on the bench and I would like in the room or outside. I'd take the in La Salle you have those halls there in behind, and they have their like a chair like that, and I'd go up on the chair of the coach and I'd do a front flip on the cement floor just to impress him.
Oh wow!
So he wanted to put me in front of the net. Or
I mean, Bruno, we had a lot of stories back in the day. We'd have those wrestling matches in the locker room.
Yeah, hockey was a lot of testing for me. Like first time I saw Rick Martel when he was broken a beer bottle on his forehead. We're playing hockey one night and everybody's drinking beers and talking, and I have an empty bottle and I'm looking at the bottle. I'm gonna do it pretty soon. I'm gonna do it soon. And I went, bing, and the bottle didn't explode because there was no beer inside. So everybody was looking at me. Is he crazy? He's crazy, man.
See, I always use the
Take out your
example.
camera. I'm only doing it once.
Go in the tournament, same thing. We'd shoot a show, like a wrestling show early in the morning in the Beauce, and because it was like a big breakfast in the morning for a big tournament, and we just my friend sat on a chair with a leather jacket, and I'm pretending I don't know him. I run at him with a line, and he takes the bump. Everybody thinks it's a real fight, and we did all
It was like
kinds
no
of
different
things.
than us.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's funny because I look at that and I always say in the sports that I did, and I did hockey, I did baseball for 16 years, I did track and field, but I wasn't a hockey player, a baseball player, an athlete. I was a wrestler. I was a professional wrestler doing those things. And I feel I brought the same attitude of the guys I would see on TV to the game when I would play. And, you know, Bruno was on 10 teams with me. He can attest to it that I was always a wrestler doing those things. So by the time I came into wrestling, I just carried over a lot of my sports persona, which was really a wrestling persona, into the ring. And I think it makes for a great base for people. Now, you talked about, you know, some of your failures, some of the lows, like going out east for Emile Dupree. And I think you had also told me you went out to Calgary for the Hearts,
Calgary
too.
was the biggest failure than the Maritimes. But then after that, it was like success for like different territories.
And the way, you know, without getting into too many details with Calgary and everything that happened, I personally think that it was something that taught you to overcome failure that early on, and that if you could pass that, nothing was going to stand in your way. And I think that even though you may look back at it as a failure, I think it was actually a good lesson.
No, I'm happy actually that I was not happy the day that I was there. Day after day, it was a tough time because I was living out with the Salvation Army. I was like 18 years old. I was really bad in English at school. So basically, I learned my few words on my flight going to Calgary. The guy beside me was asking why and when and where, and those basic words were my first words. So when I got to the Calgary Stampede and I walked up to Stu Hart, and I went pretty much like something like, Stu Hart, I've been, I don't know if I could have said I've been, my English wasn't that good. But I've been calling you, maybe I work tonight or something like that. I don't know. And then he said, ask Bruce. And then I went to Bruce, and so I had no English whatsoever. So that was a big strike against me right there, being green. But I kept on, they ribbed me. Come to Edmonton, I'd take the Greyhound 4.5 hours to Edmonton, and then they bring me. Now maybe next week Friday in Calgary, and then I take the bus back for like 3 months, back and forth. So eventually Kerry Brown, he said to Bruce, you can't do that to him anymore. You gotta at least give him something, So he took his One Friday afternoon, we went in the ring, no crowd, just me and Bruce Hart, and he tossed me around, make me take some bumps, hit me fired up, throwing a comeback at him, things like that. And after that, he said, it's not bad, but to improve, you would have to register to our wrestling school. It's $3,000, I think, for the wrestling school. I didn't have the money. I borrowed the money from my dad for my flight ticket. So.
And all the bus tickets too, right?
Yeah. Well, I transferred. I was working as a, when you go to a whatever, where they sell plywoods and 2x4s and
like a hardware store.
Hard work, but on the outside. And I was making, loading trucks and droppings and stuff. So I wasn't making much money. But I think when I transferred my the chômage, it was probably $173 and $74 per week or something like that. Wow. So it wasn't that much money I had to pay a little rent for a Salvation Army per month, per week, and make a living. So that wasn't much.
And to put this
in like 3Ks,
but hold on, Kyle. Kyle, but also to put this into context, we're talking what year here? This
88?
is 80. Yeah, that's what I was
1988.
Yeah, like 3K is a lot of money back then. I mean, it's a lot of money now, but like back then.
Yeah. So it was a tough time, and I came back here and then depressed a little bit, and then I started to send some packages to Emile.
Yeah. So then it was from there. It was on the up and up because
the Emile was bad because I made a lot of fuck ups and rickets, and because let's say I was wrestling the Booker and Chono, Masahiro Chono, and the Booker Bob Brown. They were the champs, and we're challenging them. Me and Eddie Watts as the Super Bees, dressed up like the Killer Bees, and had a mask on. And he was calling me stuff that just something simple like baseball slide, drop kick. And I'd come back so nervous and just hold him into a bear hug, and he was like, "What the hell? What are you doing? Bear hug?"
Well, it's understandable because it was one of the biggest opportunities.
And I was
of your
so
career.
nervous. I was so nervous. So the guy that gave me at least the most out of my run there was Sailor White. I used to watch him. I was so impressed. I used to watch most of those guys like Leo Burke and Sailor White. They were on international wrestling shows, and I think once or twice I did jobs for them. Squash matches, I got squashed, and then now to be with those top guys, to be part of the roster and everything, it was nervous, the first
full circle.
few nights.
You know, one of my favorite stories is when you said you actually got to squash Ron Hutchison, a good friend of mine.
Yeah, because I was on the star side, you know. I was like challenging for the titles. I was one of the main tag team, and some guys were just doing jobs. They were like Ron Hutchison was Mass Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
He was he was losing every matches. So he was doing a job for me.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I'm actually glad because Ron has been someone I've been trying to get on this show for forever, despite the fact that he's one of my mentors, practically one of my trainers, and we speak pretty often. He's a little camera shy, I guess, but Ron, I'm going to get you on here one day.
When I went to Toronto in 2018 to work for an indie show over there for Lucha, the man Lucha, I saw Ron. And right away we went about those years, that time, not those years, but those months.
So now,
I mean, Ron, we do audio only if you want to come on that show. We're on Podbean.
I'm gonna wear him down one day. I'm gonna get him on here.
Is he healthy? Because he had some issues when I saw him, so I don't know how.
Yeah, no, he's doing all right. He had lost a lot of weight, but like intentional because he was bigger before, and then he went on a weight loss journey. I think he's doing well. You know, he made his comeback against me. He had a 20-something year hiatus. He quit the wrestling business right in the prime of his career. And then he came back in 2013 or 2014, something like that. We were on a tour for Emile Dupree, and he chose me as his opponent. So you can see the match on YouTube, Jeremy Prophet versus the Masked Thunderbolt. It's Ron Hutchison's middle-aged ass in there against me.
And he produced a lot of talents too, huh?
Absolutely.
With his wrestling school.
I think he'd be second only to Stu Hart. In terms of Canadian talent who've made their way to a major stage, WWE and so on. Yeah, he trained Edge, Christian, Trish Stratus, Gail Kim, Beth Phoenix, anyone who's anyone, and Jeremy Prophet. Helped me a lot along the way.
The biggest name. Jericho Award winner, Jeremy Prophet.
Maybe the biggest name in terms of letters. That's quite possible. Biggest ego. Arms. But you would go on to get some opportunities overseas.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest opportunity that helped catapult your career was meeting Jacques. I think, was that in Puerto Rico, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah,
okay.
But I went with Nelson Veilleux, Rick Crawford, Nelson Veilleux.
Yep.
We went as a tag team in England and Germany for Rene Lassertes, and from there I jumped. Otto wanted me to go with him, so I went with Otto Vans in Germany. The big tour where it was like 2 cities in Austria, Vienna and Graz, and then after that you had Hanover 60 days at the same building, and then Bremen 30 days, and then I came back home with a contract for the following year, which would have been 1993. But while I was doing all kinds of stuff, I was sending packages to USWA, WCW, WWF. I had sent like so many packages since my beginnings, even from, I guess, maybe right after, as soon as we got in Europe, I guess. And I called so many times Puerto Rico, Victor Jovica, Carlos Gunn. I was trying to get on. Dutch Mental was the booker. I was trying to get on. And I couldn't get on, and eventually, as I came back from Germany at Christmas, it was at my birthday, December 30th, and then January 4th, I got a call from Carlos Colon. Said, we need you tomorrow in Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Carlos Colon is basically the Puerto Rican Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Biggest wrestling promoter in all of Puerto Rico.
And for the wrestlers out there, I have to ask the question because I've heard this story time after time after time. So did Carlos bring you in and then not pay you the first week and then pay?
But no, it paid me for the first couple of weeks, and eventually they fell behind on the money, like next week, and then it was like, no, next week. And like I was talking to everybody, like Rick King and all the guys that were there. And they were saying, no, they're behind, especially the Puerto Rican guys. They were like 12, 13, 15 weeks behind.
Wow.
And eventually I couldn't pay my rent anymore. I was living in a hotel room, like $35 a day, plus, plus food. The gym, the food and everything. And I was telling them, I can't continue. Like, I'm going to have to, I got to get paid or I can't live anymore. You know, it's as simple as that. Like, how many times can I call my mom to Western Union me some money? You know, I did it. Yeah, I was. Mom, I need like 1,000. Like, you know, Western Union me that money, and I'd get my money, and then eventually, I ran out of money, and it was a big step for me because I had to go back home, and around those years, Bruiser Brody just got killed in a shower.
Yeah.
Was taking a shower or having an argument, not taking a shower, but they went for a finish, discussed that in the shower, away from the boys.
Yeah.
And he got stabbed by the guy that I was feuding with, Jose Gonzalez.
Yeah. You were feuding with him?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he was a cool guy. I mean, he was nice. And I asked him about, and he told me his side of the story, which I don't really remember, but it was not his fault.
You know, I not to cut you off, but I looked into the Bruiser Brody thing a little bit. There's a lot of people who have a lot of different versions of it. They did a Dark Side of the Ring about it. I can't help but get the impression that, you know, we're not getting the full story. Obviously, we'll never know because one of the individuals is dead.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I kind of feel like there may have been some friction there, and I don't think it was necessarily a come here in the shower and my intention is to kill you. It may have been something more along the lines of maybe, you know, hey, we're not paying you. Hey, you were stiff with me the other night.
Yeah.
Something like
A
that.
lot of stuff,
And
maybe.
maybe Brody kind of bowed up and got aggressive, and who knows, maybe the guy had to defend
you
himself.
heard the story that one night, like, I don't know, when you are with guys that have been in the business for a long time, there's stories coming up where I think I was Taker telling that story, or I can't remember who it was, but some nights, like, Bruiser Brody would go out in the ring and just
do
sit
what he
in
wants.
the middle of the ring, and he decided not to wrestle.
Wow.
And the guy that was wrestling him didn't know what to do, and
Because, I mean, I'm just saying that...
it was hard to deal with it, from what I understand.
Yeah, and I'm saying that, you know, Brody did have that reputation, and I know it's unfortunate that he died, so the person who's dead, it will always
There's
be...
never a good reason
No.
to stab someone.
Yeah,
No.
the person who's dead will always be seen as the victim in the situation. But I think that, you know, people need to be open-minded to the fact that, you know, it's very possible that Brody could have been the one who maybe instigated the whole thing.
Maybe.
And Invader, I know him as Invader.
Invader, yeah.
Yeah.
He was having also, I think, if maybe you could research on that, but I think he was having a bad day or a bad week because his kid has drowned in his pool too.
Okay, wow.
Nobody knows about that, so maybe we have to research that further. But when you're having such a bad week or a bad day, I don't know. I don't know why he went to wrestle. We have to double check on that.
Because I just think, looking at the two of them, if you know, he's going in there and his intention is to kill him, then what's the motivation? I kind of more see it like maybe things escalated, maybe he took a hit first or something, and he had to defend himself against this guy who was much bigger. Again, I don't want to be outspoken about it, but
I was nervous because I knew just being there. Okay, I was like, I've seen a few shootout. Like, I've seen like Dorman got killed. I've seen a car got you know, you know, with a lot of bullets and things like that. And I was eating one time at Denny's, and it was a big hold up. Like, everybody, like, guy was taking watches from everyone. Give me your money and everything. They didn't come to me, and I was feeling like I'm gonna jump this guy, and I don't know. It's like, what if he shoots someone? Because he's shooting like on the floor upstairs, and and he was pretty wild. And I was like, anyway, I'm gonna finish my plate.
Can I finish
And
my
then,
grand
and then
slam
I,
before you
gra-
rob
I
me?
grabbed my sandwich, and I went, no, I'm not hungry. I'm trying to go against my feelings. Like, I'm trying to convince my mind, like, I'm good, like nothing happened, but I couldn't eat.
It was basically that scene from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, kind of. It's
You
crazy.
were the bad motherfucker in
So
that- in that
Puerto
set.
Rico was crazy. Because I went back in 2005, and it was New Jack and Pondo, or
Madman Pondo?
yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Madman
yeah.
Pondo.
Madman Pondo.
And New Jack had some steam with Cowboy Hughes. You know Cowboy Hughes?
From here, from Canada.
Yeah,
Mike
from
Hughes.
Maritime.
Yeah.
They the tour, I don't know, before I got there, they got into a big arguments or whatever. So people knew it was heat between them two, but they worked it out. But they worked the boys. So they're making an argument. No, we're not gonna go in the truck. It's too dangerous because the truck was there for the production. It was on the baseball stadium, and they had the truck there. So they went up to do a spot with Pondo taking a bump into a table from the roof of this truck, and they made it like they were arguing before that it was too dangerous. Wow. But it was a work, and Luke of the Bushwhacker was the booker. So when they came back after that match, Pondo was double jointed on the knees, so he could put his leg around. He could he put the toes behind his leg.
Okay.
He could do that easily.
Oof.
So he did that. He just turned his leg around. Not during it. It was not an accident. It was just before he got back in the back. So he's like, oh, my knee. Ah! And then he's selling and everything. And Luke's like, what's going on? What's going on? My leg. I broke my leg. And he's like, call 611. Luke goes crazy. Like, call 611. He's like so much on his nerves that instead of saying 911, he's like saying 611. I was wondering, is it different in Puerto Rico in my mind? So, so the guys are arguing with each other, Cowboy Hughes and Jack. So Jack picks up a pair of scissors, like he's gonna stab
Hughes.
Hughes grabbed a kendo stick, and all the Puerto Ricans grabbed their gun, and they were ready to shoot. Serious, serious. I was, wow, this is crazy. And then they said, no, guys, it's a rib, and everybody went, ooh.
Wow. Funny, yeah. I've been on a couple of shows with Mike Hughes. He's a big guy.
6'6",
yeah,
6'5".
really tall. I had a good conversation with him. He's actually I hope I don't get this wrong, but he's, I think, the most celebrated wrestler from, I think, PEI. It's either PEI or Newfoundland. I forget which one.
Nova Scotia or maybe Newfoundland.
It's either PEI or Newfoundland. It's one of those
on the
places.
East Coast.
He's been considered for years throughout Canada the
Him
best
and Big
wrestler.
Pete.
Yeah, the two. Pete is. I'm trying to remember his work name here, but yeah, Peter Smith.
Peter Smith.
Brody Steele.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
You do have a good memory.
Great. I know everyone from coast to coast. Canadian. Canada's important. I'm Mr. Canada. That's it. I know all these guys. Yeah. Other guys that should have got a break at some point.
Canada's greatest export right here.
That's right.
And soon to be Canada's great. They got to export me first. But so now you would find your way to the WWF.
Yeah. Met Jacques in Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
actually. He didn't know about me. Like, I've been in the business for 8 years. And he's presenting himself to all the Puerto Ricans in Spanish. And a lot of guys also made it in WWE. 1993, the guy that I worked with over there, like Mr. Hughes. Mr. Hughes came to Puerto Rico. Jacques came to Puerto Rico. What was other guys?
Mr. Hughes, who, by the way, has trained a lot of wrestlers that you
Like
see on
Apollo
TV.
Creed, I think?
Apollo Crews, Heath Slater, Moose, if I'm not mistaken, tons of people. I follow him on Facebook.
No.
Hey, if ever you want to do an interview, Mr. Hughes, we could get you on here too.
This is the Mr. Hughes that was also the manager who was with
that's
Chris
him.
Jericho at one
He
point
came from
with the glasses.
WCW to WWE.
Yeah, Curtis Hughes.
So,
terrifying guy.
Yeah, and between the two, he came to Puerto Rico, and we tag teamed quite a bit, me and him together, against Carlos and Invader. And
There was
things
that
like
picture I showed you that he
Yeah,
posted. Maybe we can get it in the episode.
Yeah, I took some pictures with him. Over there.
From way back.
I had the patch with the studs on the patch, and I was Killer Carl Wallace over there. But Jacques came in for just a few nights for a weekend against Carlos, the Mountie against Carlos Colon. And I see presenting Jaco, whatever. He went in Spanish because his mom used to go to Mexico quite a lot, so 6 months of a year or something like that. So he was pretty good in Spanish. And then I said, hey, salut Jacques, comment ça va in French? And then he...
Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Yeah, I didn't understand, like, who's that guy?
Wait a second.
Yeah, so we started to just hang out. Went to Ponderosa.
Underrated buffet chain, by the way. I'm
Yeah.
sad they closed
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But he was put in a decent hotel compared to me. They took care of him, and I guess he was getting paid okay. I never finished my story about not getting paid. So I came back to, sorry guys, I came back to Montreal.
It's okay. Kyle started thinking he's doing stand-up here, holding the mic.
Well, no, it's because I don't want to sit like this.
No. I came back to Montreal. I was not getting paid. And then eventually I said, I got to go back home because, and as I got back home, they called me back. They said, you can't leave like that. I said, well, yeah, but if I have to go back, if I'm going to go back, I need to have all my money that you owe me. Plus, I need to have my money every Friday, every week. I can't. They said, no, we promise you. We have you tomorrow back on a flight. We're bringing you back, and we're going to pay. So I was like, is that a setup or something? I was nervous.
You got the old Hotel California treatment.
Yeah. So I got back there, and they paid me all my money, and everything was cool. And then later on, on that same stretch, Jacques came, and we hooked up. We went Ponderosa. We went jet skiing. We were doing tons of things. The weather is super nice over there. So, and then working at night, he was watching my match sometimes and give me some pointers. And eventually he said, I'm going to call Vince and get you a tryout. So I went for tryouts on my own.
I had heard in Jacques' telling of that in another shoot interview that he did, he had said that he was there, I think, because he had taken time off because of the birth of
In Puerto Rico,
JJ.
that was JJ.
Yeah, and they were on it.
I think it was JJ was turning 5, but Cedric was
Cedric.
born. Yeah.
Yeah, that time frame might make more sense.
I think JJ's birthday is November 5th or something like that, because when we got hired from WWE, we had to do TVs in June and July, and Jacques kept saying that to Vince, I don't want to start before my kid's birthday. And when it's your first break ever, you're like, don't say that.
What are you doing?
I want to start as soon as possible. It's your dream since you're a kid. And he's like, no, not now. We're not. We have to start only in November. And but Vince didn't care. So he put us on the road pretty quickly.
And what I was explaining to these guys was the unique dynamic that you had in your team. The Quebecers, which, by the way, from what I understand, you were called the Quebecers because they couldn't call you the Mounties, because that was in Canada. You can't portray a law enforcement officer like that. It's
they took it on the wrong way when
They took it personally. Yeah, I heard about that.
When they did the Mountie, they lawsuit Vince, and Vince lost. So Jacques was doing only the Mountie in the States, and when he was in Montreal, was Jacques Rougeau.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he didn't want to have to do that because it was kind of screwing up his character a little bit,
But it was interesting because you still wore the Mountie outfits, the red.
Was that the official one? Like Jacques used to wear the official one as the Mountie.
Yeah.
Us was like more like a fake one of the Mountie, but very close to it.
But you used, like, it looked like the
Exactly.
Mountie gear.
That was Vince wanted to give them a receipt, like saying, we're not the Mounties, we're handsome, we're brave, we're strong. We're not the Mounties because we always get our man.
Now, I was wondering about that because that was my favorite part of the gimmick was the song. And that's actually you and Jacques singing that.
Yeah. We spent a full day with Jim Johnson in the studio in New York.
And Jim Johnson still hasn't released that song on his anthologies that he keeps putting out there.
Well, he did produce that song for Vince, though.
But he's been recently doing Uncaged, he calls. In fact, he released
It should be a lot of fans asking for that song because what you're saying that a lot of the fans, when I see them on conventions or wherever I go, they talk about that song.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a real word. It's actually better than Jacques' Mountie song, I would say. The Quebecers were not the Mounties.
I'll do you one better. I think it's better than the Fabulous Rougeau song.
Yeah, I would say that too.
Yeah.
And Fabulous Rougeau's is pretty good.
The Fabulous Rougeau ones was good, yeah.
That one hasn't been released either. I think it's time Jim Johnson puts those out.
I mean, Jim, what are you waiting for?
But no, I thought that was great. And I heard Jacques explain something about your team in this interview where he said you guys were the first team to make it that every time you make a tag, you had a double team.
Yeah.
And that if you look at tag team wrestling, until the Quebecers came along, it was literally every tag, there was a double team. They had something. So, you know, you were telling me, Kyle, I think, what were they, 49 of the top 50 they put out?
40, yeah, number 49.
Yeah,
49.
so there's that crock of garbage they put out saying
Unbelievable.
49 for the fact that they helped advance tag team wrestling with that. So was that your idea, Jacques' idea?
It was a lot of my ideas, I think, because we were on that concept, me and Nelson, in England. And I was trying to, I kept a lot of the moves. Like the tower was me, that was Edward Carpentier's idea, who told him to Nelson, and me and Nelson, that was Nelson's idea. So we did that finish as Double Trouble in England and in Germany. And did a lot of other moves, but Jacques already had the one with when he was jumping on the face. I was holding the guy like
The
in
legs,
a bear hug, and he was jumping. He had already that one with Ray, so we kept that one, and then we just got creative with the other ones. The body slam on top of.
On top of the microphone?
Yeah, double kick and this, and we had another one with a sweep with a clothesline.
The one I really liked that you did that looked devastating every time was the Boston Crab
That was my
with the leg drop.
Yeah.
That looked like death.
Yeah, that was a good one. From the top, sometime from the second. Yeah, that was we came up. I think we were really innovative, and I think those. Like you said, every time we tagged, we had like something set up as a tag team.
Yeah.
And it was never like just a tag to tag him in. It was always bang, 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 something going on. And we were really creative, very innovative. And I think that got us big pops.
Yeah.
With the entrance.
And I think that, you know, that's what always made me understand what made the Quebecer tag team so unique and also deserving of the tag team championship so soon, because none of the other teams were doing that. And I feel the idea of every tag is a double team. You're taking advantage of that 5-second window that you have, and it's not wasted time. It's not just choke the guy in the corner, and it's giving the people action and looking like you're trying to win the match. So it was no surprise that you guys got the tag titles very early.
Yeah, because I could feel it, like without talking to the office or to the bookers or to Vince. I could feel that we were getting steam, getting a lot of pops, getting a lot of people turning their heads towards us, and we're getting noticed. And I felt like at that time when they did put the belts on us, it was a great timing. It was when we were red hot.
And it must have been good for Jacques, too, because, he never got the belts officially with Raymond.
Yeah.
He only held them with you. So I think that must have been a culmination of all of his hard work before with the fabulous.
All his hard work, all my failures before, never taking no for a no, and always, kept advancing and kept believing. And I really got a lot of confidence when I went to Europe with Nelson. And then when it was the end for me and Nelson, because it was a tough situation where Otto, they sent some scouts, and Peter Smith, Otto's partner, came to Hamburg. It was Hamburg, Germany. That was the smaller federation, René Larcetes, where Chris Jericho went with Nelson after.
Oh.
So I went to the bigger federation there, what was CWA, where you had like Snuka and Wood Warrior Hawk and Vader and Larry Cameron and tons of big names were going there. In England and over there in Germany, me and Nelson, we wrestled in England. Dave Taylor, Steven Regal, Robbie Brookside, Doug Dean, Marty Jones, all those names, and David Finlay, and all those guys were on top for Otto. So they said we have only room for one guy. So Nelson said, well, go ahead and just take that. Because I asked him, if he would have said, well, we just go somewhere else, that's it. But it was good money. It was almost like the big time there, 4,000 people, the crowds.
And were you the only Canadian, or were there others?
I think so. Later on, Lance, Owen Hart was there, Chris, Benoit. But just the year prior to me, what we did, we were doing some TV tapings in France. We used the Auto Vance guys and some of the English guys. Like, we were in England, me and Nelson, so we got mixed up. So that's how we got to know Chris and Owen, and so and that's how we got noticed also from Auto. But the first time we got a letter from Auto Van saying he wants Double Trouble, and then he said, no, I don't want them anymore. And then we got really down, me and Nelson. So we were really happy. We was like, okay, we're going both to Auto Vans. And then we got another letter where, no, we can't have you guys anymore. And then we went for Renee. And I think the last day of the tour in Hamburg, Peter Williams came to watch the show. And after the show, he tossed me on the side and he asked me if I wanted to take the train to Bremen, Hanover.
Yeah. Okay. So now just getting back to in the WWF, they're tag team champions with Jacques. You had a lot of matches with the Steiner brothers. I think the titles even went back and forth.
Not with the Steiners. They went back and forth. The time we dropped the titles was one time to Men on a Mission, one time to Marty Jannetty, 1-2-3 Kid, and at the end we dropped it to the Head Shrinkers.
But with so many reigns, it showed that you were a reliable team, you and Jacques, that they could always get the belts back on you. The heat was there. I remember my first live wrestling event I ever went to at the Montreal Forum. I saw you and Jacques wrestle the Steiner brothers.
Yeah, that was a good show. Really, 13,000, 14,000 people.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was headlined, I think it was maybe Undertaker Yokozuna in the main event on that one. I know that I remember the opening match was the first match I ever saw live was Owen Hart against Bastion Booger. Wow. Also a great match of Shawn Michaels. It was supposed to be Doink against Jerry Lawler, but that's when Lawler had his lawsuit, his trouble, potentially a pedophile.
Yeah.
It's like the 93.
Hey, I'm the harbinger of truth. I tell it like it is. But found innocent. But nonetheless, he couldn't work, and it ended up being Doink against Shawn Michaels instead of Doink and Jerry Lawler. That was interesting because Shawn threw a fit because a fan threw a beer on him, and Shawn went after the guy. And then there's a pull apart, and me being a young kid, I'm like, I don't know, is this part of the show? Is this
going on here?
But yeah, you and Jacques, hell of a match with the Steiners on that show.
I
Great
remember
crowd.
we're trying to tell Pat Patterson, like, people are going to cheer for us.
Yeah.
He's like, no way. The guy's going to be Hill. You see, they're gonna. I don't know what the expression was like.
You just didn't believe it.
It's like strike three, like what Paul sit down mit, say. Yeah. And then we got out there, and as soon as we did the cheating. We did our moves, but as soon as we hit like the tag team signatures move, it was like pop, pop, pop,
you're,
pop, pop.
And you're so right. And the thing
guys,
is,
though, you're the heroes.
Oh, it was crazy.
No, but this is so. I must be, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years old at that show. And I didn't like you guys because, I mean, I'm watching it, and, I like the good guys and, don't like the bad. You're Quebecers. I don't even know we live in Quebec. I'm a young kid. So I remember just being so confused. Like, why is everybody cheering for them? Why are they cheering more when they're cheating? I didn't get it. And then, and it's funny because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the next house show I went to, you guys did the same match. I think it was you guys and the Steiners again. And same thing all over again. People were cheering you guys. Yeah. Biggest reaction of the night. Really
that
something.
Was, what was cool at that time is we were doing the forum quite a lot.
Yeah.
At least twice or 3 times a year. Yeah. I think the forum I did, the signers, the smoking guns, the head shrinkers, the retirement match. So it was a lot. Plus many others that I can't really
And
remember.
one you may, although this may have been the Bell Center. But,
Nation of Domination one time.
I wasn't there for that one, but when I was there for was you and Jacques against the Godwins.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a hell of a match. I remember you did like a moonsault to the outside. And this is in like 90, 98,
Wow.
99.
It's unheard of.
97, 98.
It's unheard
No,
of.
it would have been like 98, 99.
Yeah.
This was the when
second
they came
run,
back.
yeah.
When
The
he had the
second run,
long
that's right.
hair and the eye
the
patch.
eye
Yeah.
patch, yeah.
When and he did like a moonsault to the outside. I think even Jacques did a dive to the outside where he came off the top, and the match was supposed to be a #1 contenders match. You get a shot at the tag titles on the next show at the Bell Center, but I don't think you guys were around much longer after that. But just to say, it showed that you would want to give a lot to the audience, especially when it was a show here.
Yeah.
Never disappointed.
Always felt like that. Like even when there's a smaller crowd, like I always felt like I'm cheating on the crowd if I don't do what I would do in front of 20,000 people. If I don't do it in front of 400, 500 people, I feel like I'm cheating the crowd.
And you wonder why they cheered you.
Yeah, I don't.
Such
I
a
don't
different
know.
vibe in Montreal too, right? It's you're the hero for everybody, right?
Not always. Like when we did, when I've wrestled the Big Show and Jacques wrestled Hogan, they were super over compared to us. We got booed. Like it was not always the case. But in that time, we were the champs, so it was like almost a Stanley Cup for the people in Montreal and Quebec. It was almost like we kept on talking about the Saint Jean Baptiste. We're gonna do the parade with the belts, the parade of the Saint Jean Baptiste, and people were biting in it.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask you, just when you wrestled Men on a Mission at WrestleMania 10, we did a review for WrestleMania 10 a couple months back, myself and Frank, and you both double suplex Mabel, and I looked at Frank and I'm like, oh, PCO could slam him, no problem. Now, I'm assuming you guys worked a couple of house shows leading up to the match. Did you ever get the opportunity to slam him?
He's heavy.
The big, he's a big
Oh,
boy.
we used always, I was always pick him up for a slam, but I would do the deal where I got him on the crossbody and then I dropped back and then I was pushing for hair, like it's like you push hair and it goes there and like it's crazy how big he was.
We did the King of the Ring a couple weeks ago when he did a small package. I was like, it's not even it's a package at that point. It's not. There's nothing small about what he's doing right there.
Yeah.
Poor IRS is under there just.
Yeah. Well, actually, that WrestleMania 10 was a big turning point in our career because Jacques got wound up about we're supposed to get a big win because we're complaining. But when I say we're complaining, I'm the rookie, so I don't complain that much.
You're just listening.
Maybe I complain to Jacques, but I don't complain to Vince because I felt like probably took Vince like a year before he was talking to me. Like I couldn't really he was like every time I would see him and I was like approaching to shake his hand, he would turn to someone else. Hey, Nikolai, how are you? Just like that was weird.
Hey, pal.
Yeah, and I told Jacques that's a mistake I did. And then he went to Vince and he told Vince, and then Vince ribbed me. I'm coming. And I see he's looking at me, and I'm coming with my hand, and I'm firm, ready to shake his hand and have a talk with him. And then Jacques was not too far. And then I go, and then he turns around, and he goes, and Nikolai, Volkov was there, and I go to Jacques. So where's Jacques? And then Vince turned around, he goes, no, pal, you can come to me anytime. Just grab me by the arm. And that kind of broke the ice, though. After that, it was like he called me on my cell, and no, not my cell, not at home. I was supposed to be off for a while. I had a few meetings with him, and he's like, "We're gonna do a retention with you, like people wants to see you in Montreal, but you're from Louisiana, and then we don't give it to them, we don't give it to them, we don't give it to them, and eventually, after a year or two, boom, we put you on the show in Montreal." And then I've not even started my character yet. I'm just in the process of letting grow my hair and and getting ready to start the Jean-Pierre Lafitte character. And then he calls me up. He goes, "Carl, I need you for a favor." It's like, okay, I'm working for you. No, I didn't say that, but in my mind, I'm like, okay. Yeah. So